Hey guys, Eric with Blue Line Fishing. Welcome back to the channel. Your time's important to me as always. And what we're going to do in today's time is we're going to do another Wednesday review. And this time we're going to look at the Quantum Cabo 50 spinning reel. This is a spinning reel that's great for all kinds of different applications, whether it be surf fishing, river fishing, even some near shore stuff if you're chucking big plugs and lures and such. But stick around. Let's take a look at this reel. I think you'll enjoy it. Okay, let's jump into this. Another Wednesday review here on Blue Line Fishing. And what we're doing is the first and third Wednesday of every month, we're doing a review on a different product. Could be rods, could be reels, lures, terminal tackle, you name it. We're going to do reviews on those. So be sure to check back on a regular basis for that. With that being said, this is the Quantum Cabo 50. This is a reel you might want to check out if you're looking for heavier applications, surf fishing, fishing the river for big catfish, you name it. This is a reel that's going to have a little bit more shoulders to it for those type of applications. With that being said, I'll get into the meat and potatoes on this reel. It is a 5.3 to 1 gear ratio on this, okay? And if you're not familiar with what a gear ratio really does for you, for each complete revolution of the handle, so each 360-degree revolution of the handle, what it's going to do is this spool is going to rotate 5.3 times. On this particular reel, according to their stats, it pulls in about 36 inches of line per handle turn. So one full handle turn, it's pulling in 36 inches of line. As far as the weight on this reel goes, I've seen some different things online when I've looked at the reel, and the price point on this reel is about $225, but I've seen it listed as 13.6 ounces, 13.8 ounces, somewhere in that range. I weighed this reel on my own digital scales like I try and do with all the different reel reviews that I do, and it weighed in at 14.5 ounces, 14.5. So you know, it's a medium bodied reel, so it's a little, I would put the weight, it's not heavy, but it's pushing that medium heavy as far as the overall weight on the reel goes as well. So it's just something to think about. If weight's a factor for you, you might want to take a closer look at that. If it's not going to be a big deal for me, it's not. I think the reel, when you put it on a bigger, say a 10-foot surf rod or even an 8-foot rod that's beefy, this reel balances out very, very well. So as far as some of the other stats on the Cabo 50 here, it is an 8 bearing system, 7 plus 1 roller bearing, that is, and it's also got stainless bearings in it. The drag system on it is 35 pounds of drag, so that's quite a bit. Especially for a 50 size reel, 35 pounds of drag, that's pretty darn hefty. And the whole system on it, the clutch and that system is sealed, and that's pretty important, especially when you're saltwater fishing, to keep that salt water out, sand out, things like that. If you're freshwater fishing, to keep that dirt and grime out. But I'm going to take the spool cap off here, and I'll show you the gear system on this as well. So guys, if you've never taken the spool cap off a spinning reel, super easy. You're just going to turn it counterclockwise right here, where you would normally turn it clockwise to increase the drag and counterclockwise to decrease the drag. You're just going to keep turning this counterclockwise here. This spool cap's going to pop off, and I'll give you a closer look at that. You can kind of see the grease that was put on it at the factory there. That's the spool cap. This spool will just lift straight off of the spindle here in the housing, and we'll get a closer look at this in a second too. First though, what we'll do is we'll start with the spool itself, okay? It's got a baffled spool right here, so you can see these ports or these lines that are cut. There are sections that are cut out of it. What that's normally done for, it's aesthetically pleasing, but what it's normally done for is to reduce weight off the overall reel. So it has that. And then the inside right here, I'll give you a nice close look at that as well. It's got all stainless steel and aluminum construction there as well. So guys, I'll give you a look at the inside here. According to Quantum, the drive gear in this is a brass forged drive gear, and it has a stainless pinion gear in it. The bottom of the housing here is ported or baffled. In other words, it's open, just like I was showing you on the spool itself. Normally done, once again, just to take some weight off the reel where they can. And then we'll get in, I'll reassemble this here, and we'll get into the bail system and such on the outside section of the bail housing. So before we get into the bail assembly and such here, just going to let you know too, the drag system on this does have an audible click when you increase or decrease the drag. So some guys like that audible click that they can hear, because they're without really looking to see maybe what number it's on or anything like that. They know if they want more drag, one or two audible clicks, or back 2 or 3 audible clicks as well. So it does have the audible drag click feature on that as well. The bail assembly on this is titanium, and it is like super strong. And I could say I fished a number of different quantum reels, fished a ton of other different reels too, and that bail being able to take some abuse is a big deal, because once it gets bent or gets out of whack, it's really gonna make things difficult for a day of fishing. It's gonna throw the oscillation off and stuff. And when I say oscillation, what I mean is when you rotate this reel, you can kind of see right here, not right here, but how the reel shakes back and forth in my hand. This doesn't do that bad. It's not transmitting that much wobble through my hand. So in turn, that's going to be what, when you're casting and then reeling back in, especially reeling in fast, you don't want a ton of oscillation where that reel is just shaking almost uncontrollably in your hand, because that's really going to play into the performance of the reel, really the performance of your rod as well. So the oscillation on this reel is not bad at all. In fact, I'm really impressed with it. So the handle design on this reel, it's what they call power swept handle design. So what that's meant to do is, when you have that reel and you're really cranking down on it, reeling fast, that your knuckles or your fingers, when the bail rotates over to this side right here, you can see it, that your knuckles aren't hitting. You can see I've got big hands, and my knuckles are not, or my fingers at all, are not hitting this bail as it rotates around. So that's the idea with this power swept design. You can see how it's swept out away from the bail a little bit further, and the reel handle itself is also ported or baffled. Once again, looks cool, takes some weight off the reel, and that's why most manufacturers do it. And the housing on this thing, the side plate and such, it's all aluminum construction, and it seems to be really well made. The frame on the Cabo is a one-piece aluminum frame, so it's one-piece construction on that. You can actually pop this side plate knob off right here. We can turn that off just by turning it counterclockwise. You can get that off there, and you can also oil the reel and do some maintenance from the outside of that as well. So one thing I was going to mention too about the handle on this, if you don't like the handle, you can always go with a power handle like that's on this pin right here. If you want something that's going to be a little bit bigger, a little bit beefier to get in there and give you a little more torque, you can always do one of these power handles, and you can get these for this quantum reel or like this pin. Any reel that's made out there, you can find those kind of all over the place. Also guys, kind of back on the drag, this drag assembly system on this is a carbon fiber, ceramic, and stainless is what makes up the drag system on that. I think the drag system that's on the Cabo and some of the other reels too, like the Smoke, for example, which is a freshwater reel for the most part, are just fantastic drag systems. If you're one that really, on your spinning outfits, needs that drag performance, then I think the Cabo is definitely a reel to look at for sure. So this Quantum Cabo 50, we've had it down to Dauphin Island, Alabama, fished with it for a week, did a really good job, and it took some abuse as far as getting salt water on it and sand and such. Held up really well. The sealed system that's on it seemed to perform as advertised as far as not getting into the bail housing real bad. It definitely didn't gum things up or gunk it up. As far as the retrieve on it, it is a very smooth. It's buttery smooth, especially for a reel this size. When you get into your bigger reels like this, sometimes the smoothness, that glass-like feel to it, can be lacking, but I have not found that to be the case with this Cabo. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that look at the Quantum Cabo 50 spinning reel. If you did and it helped you out, please consider subscribing to the channel. Don't forget, the first and third Wednesday of the month, we'll be here doing Wednesday reviews. We'll have rods, reels, lures, terminal tackle, you name it. We're going to have those for you guys right here on Blue Line Fishing. Once again, I really appreciate you guys joining me today. And remember, get out there and fish.